You're listening to Up An Octave, a podcast by Sonivia, the podcasting agency that believes that women and non-binary people deserve to take up space in the podcasting industry because our thoughts, voices, and stories matter. Here you'll learn how to make dope podcasts that inspire, educate, convert, and most importantly, make your voice shine. I'm your host, Rue Spence, and I'm here to take podcasting up an octave. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to Up an Octave. I'm going to be so totally honest with you that I had another episode that I was planning on releasing today. It was about podcasting and activism because that feels apropos of today being election day in the United States. However, as the day has drawn closer and tensions and high emotions have continued to rise, that episode felt like more homework to do when so many of us are unable to string together a coherent thought and feeling such intense fear about the outcome of these next few days. And so rather than loading you with more responsibility and more homework and more ways to be perfect in a world that feels like it is often failing us, I wanted to come to you today. As I record this, it is Monday night on the 4th. And I am feeling heavy and anxious and trepidatious as I know that so many of the people in my community and in communities adjacent to mine are feeling. And so first and foremost, I want to take this opportunity to remind you to go vote if you have not, and it's still Tuesday. But more than that, I wanted to offer you a quiet moment. A moment to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel valued. I talk a lot about why podcasting is important to me. And if you've worked with me, or maybe even on this podcast, you have heard me say that podcasting is not heart surgery. And even on your very worst day of podcasting, no one dies. It will be okay. You will make it through. And that's true. I don't think that podcasting in and of itself is of enough value to change the world or to save lives or to do something magnificent. But what I do think of podcasting and why I continue to feel so lit up by serving the people that I get to serve and sharing with you today is because podcasting offers an outlet and an avenue for our voices to be heard, not unlike voting. And also not unlike voting, sometimes it can feel like the voice that you're sharing means very little. But trust me, it is significant. So with this episode, in addition to just holding space and letting out a collective heaving sigh together and biting our nails down to cuticles, I want to remind you, and with any luck, inspire and reinvigorate you to keep the faith and keep the fight. That regardless the outcome of this election, regardless what changes in our country and in our closer to home communities, I want to embolden you to keep using your voice. Whether that's through a podcast that already exists, or whether you in your anxiety are finding ways to get more active, to start speaking up in ways that you haven't before, and podcasting seems like it might be a good fit. If this is the first time that you've thought about that, welcome. I'm really glad you're here, and I'm glad that we can be here together. Podcasting as an art form may never be something that's revolutionary enough to really make change, but I do believe that the people behind the microphones are, and I believe that the louder that we are, the more opportunity that we have to affect change. And even if that change is not on a global level or on a major scale, the idea that our voices can find each other in the dark is something that's pretty magical and pretty amazing. The fact that we can, across these sound waves, hold space for one another and find community, especially in places where it feels like our neighbors are not behaving very neighborly toward us. With podcasting, you have the opportunity to, and this is sometimes good or bad, share your thoughts in a largely unregulated format. There are very, very few rules that have to be adhered to, and there is very little oversight that has the ability to influence the narratives that are recognized. And so should we find ourselves backsliding into policies that hurt women and queer people and people of color and people with disabilities and poor people and the ability to have a largely unregulated space to share your voice is something that is going to become even more powerful than what I have made my life's work around believing already is incredibly powerful. And so in offering you space, I do encourage you to sit with your emotions, to feel your feelings, to allow yourself the fear, the anxiety, the grief, God willing that it doesn't come to that. But then I encourage you to take up the reins, to become the change in whatever small little candlelight that may be, to keep spreading goodness. And in a country's climate where goodness feels like it has become a political statement, allow me to say that yes, the act of podcasting is political. That the way that I do it and the way that I teach it is apparently radical and political. Because I believe that no matter what space you occupy, whether you are a current events or political or news podcast, or you just like to talk about Bigfoot and provide an escape for people, or you like to talk about healing and self-care, that by lifting up goodness and highlighting goodness and finding ways to share it, you are keeping that fire burning. No matter how small it gets, it has never gone out. And as long as we keep doing what we're doing, it never will. So I'll be back next week to give some more real life tips and tricks on how to make the best podcast possible. Because if you are one of the new people here feeling inspired and incited, you're going to need it because you're about to take on something new. And that's awful daunting, but it's also really exciting. And so next week I'll be back to do more of that. But today being election day, I think we're all feeling pretty spent. And I don't know about you, but I haven't been able to sit still for days or read or really enjoy a lot of the brain space things that I usually enjoy, because I just find that my wheels are spinning a little too fast to take anything in. So do your part, vote, help others vote if you can provide transportation or pay for someone's Uber, whatever that is. Help other people get their voices heard. Help amplify other people. That's the whole point of what I do. And I ask that you do that for someone else, that you help to be the good, that regardless of the outcome of this election, you help to do your part to show that America is, was, and will always be as great as the people who choose to make it great. That this country's history has glaring shortcomings that echo incredibly loudly into today. That we are actively held back by policies and beliefs and systems that are still in place. But that as long as there is still goodness, we are the great. So, woo, yeah, I love you. And I'm glad that you took some time to sit with me today. I hope that you are taking good care of yourself. I hope that you are surrounded by a community that feels safe and can hold you either in celebration or in, oh my God, what do we do now? And if you're not, I'm here. Come find me over on Instagram and we can chat. I'm at Sonivia Studios. Shoot me a DM, whether it's about podcasting or just How do we live? How do we be okay? I don't have the answers, but I'm happy to sit in the big feelings with you. Please drink some water. Please eat something that didn't come out of a crinkly wrapper. Take care of yourself. Take care of the people who love you. And without being too toxic positive, try and find some love for the people who don't. That's all I've got for today. Until next time, thank you for helping me take podcasting up an octave.